So what does this guy and this guy have to do with this guy and this guy? Well, this guy and this guy are competing this weekend in the Super Bowl. And I don't even care if you don't like football. You need to be able to watch it so that in the future,
Great Scott!
you can tell your children, I saw that game.
Well, back in my day.
Now, what does the potential history-making game this weekend have to do with my history? I'll give you a clue. You have 4 quarterbacks and a biology class. They all add up to me meeting the love of my life. Now, as I tell this story, I'm going to share some clips from the very first video I ever made that were videotaped by my wife as we were dating. So it was during my undergrad education at Brigham Young University. And me and my friends had formed a flag football team. Now, I was not quarterback in high school, but somehow we drew straws and I ended up being the quarterback for this team. Now, for the first couple of years, I just invited, the roommates down the hall or some buddies in classes to be part of our team. And this led to a lot of fun, but very few victories. And I'll be honest, I was getting a little frustrated and I wanted to do some winning. So I decided to start actively recruiting. They had no NCAA rules against recruiting athletes to the flag football team. So off I went. So I went to parks and I would play flag football and pick up games. You could tell there was athletes and performers, and I would reach out and say, hey, are you on a flag football team? And most of them, if they were athletic, sure enough, they usually were. But then one day, I was sitting in biology class, and I was up towards the back, not so far back that I felt like an irresponsible student, but not far enough forward that I couldn't, nod off or get distracted by some other means without getting in trouble. And in walks this kid. Yeah, the kid I mentioned earlier, not Tom Brady, not Patrick Mahomes, but this kid, and he had that strut. That walk, not the cocky walk, but you just know that man is athletic as all get up. And I said, that guy has got to be on my team. Now, why would that make sense? History shows that anybody that I had approached to that point that was athletic was already on a team. But I said, okay. So I went straight up to him and I said, hey, my name's Darren Thomas. I said, are you on a flag football team? He's like, no. It's like, you want to be on mine? He said, sure. Now that doesn't make any sense. Why would anybody who is athletic automatically say yes to some random dude approaching them in a biology class and be willing to play on their flag football team? If I'm looking for someone, I probably suck. But he didn't ask. He didn't say, hey, well, are you guys good? Have you guys played before? Nothing. He just said, yeah, sure. I said, awesome. I said, hey, our first game is such and such night. And he showed up. We never held a practice. We never had set plays. We just decided to play flag football together. Okay? And piece by piece, I kind of got this team together. Now, turns out that I was right. I was really right. This guy was wicked athletic. Turns out he was a state champion in Wyoming, and he was a quarterback for said state championship teams, and he was on a full ride scholarship as a pole vaulter for the BYU track and field team. Do you realize how fast and athletic you have to be a pole vaulter? It is bonkers. And I happened to just pick him off in the hallway, walking up the stairs in a biology class. A young man named Whitney Neves became a close friend of mine. He started inviting friends of his, including girls. Now, on one particular day, after a game, Whitney went over to the sideline and he sat down next to these 3 beautiful girls. And I knew that none of these girls were his girlfriend because I had met his girlfriend. And I ain't the best at math, that's why I went into medicine. But I figured that one of them had to be single. And so I went up and started to stretch. I have never stretched in my life, nor have I stretched after. But in that moment, stretching was critical to my game plan. So I started to stretch and talk to these girls. They were all amazing, okay? But honestly, I tell it was like the three little bears. One talked a little too much, one talked not enough, and one talked just right. Then they all stood up, and I was just floored at how beautiful this one that talked just enough was. I talked to Whitney. Later, I called him and asked for this girl's number because I didn't know who she was, but I knew he knew her. That girl was actually sitting right next to Whitney when I made that phone call. She gave him permission, and we went on our first date. And it was history. We have been married for almost 14 years. I have 4 beautiful daughters, and I have great friends and amazing memories. So what does Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Whitney Neves, and Darren Thomas all have in common? We all got a ring for playing football. Gotta go. Knuckles. Noggin. But like is this?